All right, we are back with another episode of Quarter Notes Podcast presented by Los Cabos Drumsticks, Canada's #1 drumstick manufacturer. I am so very honored to be able to get to do this and represent Los Cabos Drumsticks. They are a fantastic group of people, wonderful company, and I can't say enough great things about not only the products, but the people involved. Right now, I'm using the 55AB in both the white and the red hickory. This is what they look like here. And I got my signature on them because I'll be using these at all Six Gun Smoke, as well as my new punk rock covers band called Dad Bod. So come say hi if you ever see me at one of these shows, and I'll probably give you a pair of drumsticks. Anyway, but these are 16-inch in length, and they fit in between the 5A and the 5B in the diameter. So they're very versatile stick. I'm very happy to be using these right now. Do check them out if you get the chance. Now, on with the podcast. This time I get to have a great conversation with Clare Macdonald just before the final Hillsburn show, which they performed with Symphony Nova Scotia. Claire's other project on that same night released their new album, Pretty Pleased. And that project is called Like a Motorcycle. You may have heard of them, based out of Halifax. And that day also happened to be Claire's birthday. So join me in wishing Claire a happy belated birthday. Hope everything is going well. So Claire and I, of course, talk about their musical journey from the school band program to then studying at DAL University, not only music, but also chemistry. And then, of course, Claire joined Hillsburn and Like a Motorcycle in the middle of the pandemic. So we kind of get into that, as well as a whole bunch of other stuff. And trust me, the best is yet to come with Claire. So for now, let's get to the podcast. Let's get to the conversation. So please enjoy my conversation with Clare Macdonald. There we go. Did you hear her?
I got it.
She said it. She said it, so we're good.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Pretty good. You know, put in the whole 9 to 5 thing, and now I get to do this, which is, why I work to pay the bills so I can do what I want. Right?
That's nice. Yeah.
That's what we
Yeah.
all do, especially in the Maritimes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, 100%. So what do you do during the day? Like, what's your 9 to 5?
I don't have a 9 to 5.
No?
I teach. I've been teaching at Long McQuaid. So I teach private lessons. I do that 3 days a week. I've been babysitting for
Nice.
Rosanna Jackson. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm also in the reserves.
Okay.
Yeah. But we won't talk about that.
Okay. That's confidential. That's top secret.
Yeah.
If you tell me any more, you'll have to.
You're right. That's right. Yeah.
Right. Nice. So you're originally from Halifax, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Born and raised
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Haligonian, I think you call yourselves.
Haligonian, my parents still live in the house that I moved to when I was 2. So
Oh yeah. That's
yeah.
always comforting because then it's always like you always have like a home base or something that connects
That's
you
right.
to. Yeah, because my parents, they sold that house that I grew up in. I don't want to say like within a year after I moved out, and I'm the
Oh
baby, so
wow.
it was yeah. So it's like we all
Okay.
left the nest, and then it's like, all right, we're out of
They were
here.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they've gone to Splitsville since, but I mean, whatever. That was long after the fact. That was yeah.
Right.
So yeah. Um. So before, just to kind of like a bit of an aside, before you joined the band, this would have been pre-COVID. Like a Motorcycle were touring with Dearly Beloved, and they were just coming back from Ontario, Quebec, I think it was, and I think they were on their way back to Halifax. because they had a run of shows there as well. And so they stopped here in Miramichi, which is it's called Miramichi City, but it's kind of like, like all those little towns that, conspire together to make themselves into a city, whatever that's
Right.
called. Anyway, so we're a,
Township.
we're officially a city. So
Okay.
anyway, they came here and they played at, I'm not going to name the bar. I don't want to, because I like the bar. We've played there many times. But anyway, it was one of those gigs where they were playing for the bartender and the dude that was playing the VLTs as soon as they opened at 11 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
kind of a gig.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
felt so bad because, I mean, Dearly Beloved and Like a Motorcycle are just two powerhouses. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're the type of bands that play to like the full bars, the rowdy crowds. Like, it's a show, and they still put on the show, but it was me and my two bandmates, and that was
Mm-hmm.
it. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, not a good look for the bar for the town. There wasn't much promotion, like
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
sucked, but it was a good
That's
show.
tough.
So,
Yeah. I've
yeah.
played lots of shows like that. Yeah.
Oh, we all. I mean, that's
Yeah.
part of what it is, right? Like, you could go to a like even as like people put that whole spin on touring bands, like they dramatize it to think like you're playing in front of these packed crowds and you're on the road and it's just party after party, and there's nights where you're legit playing for like two, three people. You know,
Yeah.
there's no
Yeah.
money from the door. Here's $20 to pay your gas, and that's life on the road, right?
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Done that many times. Um,
Yeah.
so your main gig is with like a motorcycle, if I understand, because you're still with Hillsburn.
Still with Hillsburn, but we have our farewell show um this Friday.
Yeah, which
Um,
I don't do a lot of research, but
no,
doesn't that
that's
fall on your
okay.
birthday?
That is my birthday, and it's also the day that the like a motorcycle record comes out. So
Wow,
it's a big day for me.
it's
Yeah,
a big day.
it's a big day.
I was
Yeah,
gonna ask when the
yeah.
album actually dropped, because you guys have been putting out like bangers of singles like for the last like couple months.
Thank
Um,
you. Yeah, yeah.
okay, so the album drops this Friday.
Hmm.
Are you doing double duty? Like, is like a motorcycle playing on that bill with Hillsburn?
No, it's the Hillsburn show is like with Symphony Nova Scotia, so it's just us. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, didn't
yeah.
like a motorcycle play with the symphony before?
Not that I know of.
No? I thought I
No, I
saw,
don't
or
think
was it a
so.
choir? I thought I saw something where you guys played with like a choir or something backing you up.
Uh, Not that I know of. What
Okay.
Hillsburn did a show, I can't remember, was that 2 summers ago now, where we had guests up and we had a horn section. And so Kim and Katie came up and we did Tanner, the Like a Motorcycle song, with like Hillsburn playing and the horn section playing.
That's what I
So I
saw.
think that's what it was. Yeah.
Clearly,
Yeah.
my research team are just nailing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so it was a Hillsburn show. I remember seeing something with
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
additional pieces on the stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So you joined the band during the pandemic, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was that like joining a band mid-pandemic? Like rehearsals or just like how did that all come together?
Yeah, it was kind of it was odd. Like um because at that point they had already been writing like new songs. But it was like, someone would write something and then like send it over on like GarageBand or whatever they're using.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
yeah. So it was a bit odd, but like as soon as we could get in the room together, we started doing that, and then it really came together that way.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And had you known the crew from like a motorcycle before getting into the like what was your connection to the band prior to joining?
Katie and I were really good friends. Um, Before that, like I was a fan of Like a Motorcycle. So I went to their release show at Gus's Pub, for the High Hopes release show, and I ended up meeting them there and just like connecting with them. But also, funny enough, Kim and I played a show together at Gus's pre like a motorcycle hot yoga days. And
Okay.
with my band that I was in then, which was called the Still Frames, like high school days
Yeah. Yeah.
leading into university. So that's when Kim and I met, which is hilarious, like over 10 years ago now.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was hosting, or I have had another podcast, and I was trying to get her on, and this was when she just got asked, or it was like her first run where the cancer bats called her up to go on the road. So we never
Katie.
connect. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were set to do it. We were just about to schedule the time and a day, and then she's like, I'm hitting the road because the cancer bats are calling. And I'm like, by all means,
Yeah. Yeah.
priorities,
Yeah.
Seems like a really genuine, caring empath of a person. Like I've never met or talked to her, but that's kind of from what I see on social media. Um, kind of I don't want to say like a reluctant front woman, but takes on the role quite well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
My people meter is still working. All right.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Okay. So how is she like? Because I know before you joined the band, the dynamic, like there was Minnie Michelle, which
Mhm.
that was that whole era of the band. Um, so then when you came on, it was sort of like was there like a shift in just the whole creative process of the band in the room?
I mean, I don't know because I wasn't in the room before I got there.
Fair, fair.
Um, but like definitely because Michelle was a songwriter, right? Like she wrote a bunch of the songs before. I am not yet a songwriter, maybe one day. Um, so yeah, I think that that would be a shift for sure.
Yeah, because anytime there's a bit of any change in a lineup, things, personalities are different, things
Hmm.
change. Um,
Hmm.
and you've done this like twice. Like when you joined Hillsburn, they didn't have a drummer because they
Right,
were kind of like a
right.
folky thing, but you're still coming into a process that was already established and then played on the latest album. What
Hmm.
was like when you're coming up with drum parts and when you're in the creative process with, your bandmates, do you find there's a difference in the process between the two?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I think like when I joined Hillsburn, the songs were already written, they were already recorded at that point. Like if we think of their first album. Um, so all the song was there, and then it was just like totally up to me to come up with a drum part that fit that.
Mhm.
Whereas when I joined like a motorcycle, the songwriting was in process. So like all the songs weren't like fully formed.
Mhm.
So yeah, a difference there for sure. But also kind of similar because like once I joined Hillsburn, we did the Wilder Beyond. Paul would send us because Paul was the main songwriter in that band. Send us songs and like he would have like garage band drums, in or whatever he's using.
Yeah.
Like, you need a beat to write a song. Like I get it. And then I'd be
Yeah.
like, can you please send me this without the drums in it? Right.
Yeah.
Like, because I want to like kind of do my own thing. And that was a similar theme in like a motorcycle because they started writing before I joined.
Yeah.
And I don't know, you know, where Michelle fell in that situation, but it was like I was getting some more tracks with you know drums, and then I was like, can
Yeah.
you send me it without the drums?
Yeah. In
Yeah,
that in
yeah,
that case, wouldn't it, like you kind of want them to send you drumless track with just a click track, just so you kind of know, where the pulse is and if there's any like stops or like gaps that they want to have, like,
exactly.
just kind of like a note,
Yeah.
okay, like at this part, everybody stops kind of thing. So you can kind of
Hmm.
figure out your part to, coming in and out of that, right? Because
Hmm.
you don't want to
Totally.
just dead stop and then dead in again. Like you want to have some kind of a fill or build up or something. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
They don't do that though. They
No,
never they never think of that. They
they
just
never do that.
yeah.
No. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, like even the garage band drums, where it's just like kick and snare, it's still in your head, right?
It's still in your head, right? Yeah, totally.
Because
And
even
you're
when
like,
they
I
send you
want like
the,
a, yeah, you want a fresh, like clear canvas, right?
yeah,
But if there's kick and snare in there, it's not really fresh, clean canvas, is
no,
it?
but
There's
it's,
some stuff on there.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
totally. Do you find like, because I know you have a musical background, again, like I don't do a lot of research. I just skim the surface on what's, you know,
Hmm.
I Googled and then I saw a couple of quick things and that was it. Like
Okay.
that's as much prep I do for these because I just want to chat. I just want to get to know people,
Yeah,
right? So,
for
um,
sure.
but I do know like you went to DAL for music. Do you
Right.
find how has that shaped your creative process when you're working with bands?
That's a good question. Um, I think if I'm honest, it's gotten me really in my head about how I'm creative because I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Like I think about myself when I was in the creative process of like with my band in like junior high and high school, right? Where it was just like you just got together and made music because it was fun, like fun. That's what you wanted to do, right? And then you go through the whole music school process and there are rules and there are this and that and like you're not doing this correctly, like do this more, like you're getting graded on everything. And yeah, I think like it's hard not to get caught up in that. Like, am I doing this correctly? Like, am I doing the thing that should be done here because of all this
Yeah,
stuff that comes into play? Um, yeah, so that's a really interesting question. Um, and I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and yeah, I think it would just like get me in my head.
yeah.
Yeah,
Start to
yeah.
overthink it, like what?
Overthink it. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
I'm the
Yeah.
person that's got the music background. I'm supposed to like make this cool, or have
Mm-hmm.
you ever had to
Right.
like now? Okay, here's another interesting thing I just thought of. So when you're
Okay.
like working with the band, right, and like
Yeah.
egos and arguments, or this should be this way or this should be that way. Like, have you ever had to like pull that education out from your back pocket and be like, well, actually, this is how it should go because this makes sense with this, and that's a fifth, and it goes into this, or like that kind of stuff?
Yeah, no, because if I'm like, yeah, theory wasn't really my jam in university. I did it because I had to, but
Mhm,
I was kind of a special case because I did a double major. I actually don't have a music degree. I have a chemistry degree, weirdly
mhm.
enough. So I kind of got to skip some of the hard stuff, like the really hard theory courses and stuff I didn't have to do because it wasn't a requirement for like a chemistry degree.
Right.
Um, that stuff honestly really just goes up right over my head.
Okay.
I can't be like you're supposed to be playing minors, seventh diminished, blah blah blah. That's
Yeah. I
yeah.
I don't know what those are. I watched
Yeah,
Rick Beato's channel and he talked about it, so that's kind of where I heard that.
right. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I can
Yeah.
barely count to four, and if somebody tells me it's in seven, I'm like, what do you mean it's in seven? What's that?
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm in a
totally.
punk
Yeah.
band. This is not like we don't play sevens. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you find there's any like weird tempo stuff that with like a motorcycle or Hillsburn like that's kind of tricky for you?
Well, like moving from Hillsburn to like a motorcycle was kind of like they're way different, right?
Oh yeah.
And like motorcycle, that whole the Dead Broke album is so fast. you
Yeah,
know?
those
So
yeah.
I was like, when they approached me and like asked if I would be interested, they're like, we're moving some stuff around, like we need a new drummer, like we would be interested in playing with you. Like I was like, can I physically do this? Like, am I physically capable of playing this music like this hard and fast? Um, so yeah, that was definitely like a process, and I had to spend a lot of time um just at my practice setup, just just like getting that up and getting that feeling good and like solid
Yeah.
at a fast tempo for
Those
sure.
those kick doubles, they get you every time.
Yeah, every
Yeah,
time.
just because they're
Every
they're just
time.
constant, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
miss one, everybody else might not know it, but you hear
You hear it. Yeah,
it. You hear it
totally.
right away. You're
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Not so bad live, but when you're recording it, you're really like, oh, I got to do that again. You know,
Yeah.
how's the recording process been different between the two? Like, because like you said, they had all those songs written in Hillsburn that you came into and then basically recorded to the tracks versus, with like a motorcycle, you'd be laying your drum tracks first and then, kind of that whole thing, like leading the
Yeah.
show.
Well, actually, because I recorded, well, two full albums and an EP now with Hillsburn as like a member. So like, but the Slipping Away, so our last full album that we did, Hillsburn did, we did it with Howard Redicop, who's the producer from out west. Um, and so we did it all live off the floor, which was different from the Wilder Beyond, which we did all on our own. Like we recorded the drums in my old bedroom at my parents' house, just because like we kind of were just like, we're a new band now, we have drums now, like let's get this out and let's do this.
Hmm.
So that was different because I think we did all the drums first so that they would have everything to record to.
Hmm.
Um, but then working with Howard on Slipping Away, doing things live off the floor and having his input, like having a producer's input, we actually worked with Howard on Pretty Pleased with Like a Motorcycle. So it was actually a little bit similar, like having Howard in the room, same producer, like I knew him already, we had a connection. Um, so a little bit similar. We did stuff live off the floor as well. Um, and then would do like overdubs and stuff.
Hmm. So when you guys were
Yeah.
doing pre-prod with like a motorcycle, was that a name that you brought to the band? Like say, hey, we should work with this
N-
guy?
no, actually, because Like a Motorcycle did Dead Broke with Howard as well.
Okay.
So, so Howard, uh, during this time when Like a Motorcycle was doing that record and Hillsburn was gearing up to do another record, he messaged I don't know, a bunch of East Coast bands, a bunch of bands he wanted to work with, and we were each one of them.
Okay.
So yeah, no,
My
I didn't
my
bring the
band must have
name.
missed that memo.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, totally missed that one. Oh well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
who,
Howard's awesome. He's really fun to work with. He really like he'll like just throw something at you and you'll be like, well, I never even thought about that. Like a whole new perspective. It's really
mhm,
cool working with a producer like that.
yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
and like I know the Like a Motorcycle online content is just like awesome. Like it's always put out at the right time. It's always engaging. How has it been working with a band that kind of has more of that social media presence? Because
Uh
I'm not a big like I mean I have to do all my own social media stuff, but I hate doing it. And I know
yeah.
you're not like super active on social media and your own like personal stuff, but like it's
Yeah.
a different world when it's with the band, right? So how's
Yeah.
that been kind of?
It's nice to have like the like motivation in a way to 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 like be like, okay, we have to have like this presence. Not we have like but it's also a little difficult because it's not really what I think about. Like, I'm a shy guy in real life.
Mhm.
So when it comes to social media, I'm like, whoa, that's like a lot of people see what's going on, like they know what's going on. So it's like for me, even more so, I'm like, whoa, that's a lot to kind of grapple with a little
Mhm.
bit.
Yeah, it can
Yeah.
it can be a head trip. I mean, like I do it in the way that I kind of have to, and I'm not to say that the other guys like in my band are any good or not good at doing it. It's just sort of like it's one of the roles that I've kind of had to assume in the band to do a lot of
Hmm.
the social media stuff.
Hmm.
Um, and it's fucking hard.
Hmm. It's super hard. It's super hard.
Like if you think about like bigger bands like that have like, a management team, and they have social media people that do that as a profession, and they handle all the social media tags and all the posts and stuff. Like as independent bands, like we got to do that on our own. And that's like
Hmm.
practically a full-time job that,
Yes.
you have to do in between or while you're at your work or whatever, right? Because
Yeah.
not a lot of us are able to just, make a living off of the music because
Hmm.
just
Totally.
the way that the economy is right now. Like you're not
Hmm.
making a lot of sales or money off of the streaming services. Like, people aren't buying music the way that they used to. So you're relying on shows to make your money. So to be able to afford to pay somebody to do social media stuff is kind of out of the question for a lot of us. And we're just kind of winging it, right?
You're winging it, and everyone has an opinion on
Mm-hmm.
how it should be. And it's like, how do
Yeah.
you have four voices come together as one voice over this platform that you have? Yeah, it's super difficult. Super difficult.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also like just the whole mental health of it side of it, because there's some
Hmm.
serious side effects to like when you put a post out, you kind of get a little bit of that dopamine rush, like when people start engaging with it. But then, you start reading comments or you see the dark negative side of it. That can be really, really like impactful on your mental health. And if you're not
Hmm.
someone that's equipped to deal with it, it's, some people just stop and then they don't have a social media presence, and then the band isn't getting booked for gigs, and that's just a whole, and then you feel guilty. It's a whole thing,
Yeah, it's
you
a
know.
whole thing. It's a whole thing. And I'm like, why don't you just meet me at the coffee shop
Right,
and I'll talk to you face to face and we'll
right.
have a lovely little chat and it
Yeah.
won't even matter. But it's like that's not the world we live in anymore, right?
No.
Like
Yeah.
it's a big part of it for
Yeah. I
sure.
I
Yeah.
wish I could do this at a coffee shop face to
Yeah.
face. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
Totally. Yeah.
thankfully technology's there that I can, because I was just speaking with somebody out in Vancouver, and I've got another one with somebody that's down in New York that I'm going to have a chat with. So,
Oh,
that
cool.
part of it is amazing, but at the same
Yeah.
time, it's not quite the same, you know?
It's not quite the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Um,
Yeah.
so you talk about, so you grew up in Halifax. We're gonna kind of hit the rewind button.
Sure.
Like maybe
Yeah.
I'll edit like one of those weird VCR things. Right. No, that was good. We'll keep that. Um,
Okay.
so growing up, like a musical family at all? Like, did you come from siblings or people that were always playing music in the house?
Yeah, my dad plays the flute. And he's a big music fan, so we were always listening to music. Like music was just always something. My brother is also a vocalist. He he's he went to music school for like opera. He's in a bunch of
Oh, wow.
choirs in Toronto now. Yeah, and yeah, yeah. So very musical household. Like I remember we would be on road trips or whatever, and my dad would have like two, you're trying to keep the kids entertained in the car. It was like we were either listening to the Beethoven Lives Upstairs storybook or like the animals who play in the orchestra and the
Hmm.
monkey plays the crash cymbals and it's like, where's Crash? That's what I listened to when I was a kid. So yeah. Yeah.
That okay, that's kind of neat. And I suppose like
Yeah.
you say, yeah, your brother's in Toronto. Yeah, that would make sense because there's not a whole lot of operatic like vocal jobs around the
In
Maritimes.
Halifax. No, not so much. No.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I don't think of any in New Brunswick either. Like,
Right.
we're kind
Yeah.
of rural that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so you took band in school as well, right?
I took band in school. Yeah.
Okay. And drums were your
Yeah.
first instrument? Like, did you play anything else or it was just
Well,
drums?
I did piano actually. So I took piano when I was younger. Um, and I took violin as well. Like that was offered in grade 3. You could do violin. So
Yeah.
I had to, yeah. So
Got to
I
find the
did, I had
prodigies
to.
early, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I did violin and piano before I did drums.
Okay. And
Yeah.
those are, well, I mean, piano is sort of like, were you sitting at the piano with the little metronome that would tick back and forth? Like,
Yeah, yeah, just it was mostly a lot of scales. Well, I had to do a lot of scales. I was not the best piano student.
No. Is that
No.
something that you've kept up or like gone back to, like as an adult?
No, something I wish, like when I was in it, I was like, oh, piano, why do I have to do piano? Now, as a 36-year-old, or almost 36-year-old, I'm like, I wish I had kept up with piano. I mean, it comes across it like very similar to playing like mallet instruments, like xylophone, marimba. It's the same thing. So I guess in a way it kept going. Like in university, I was doing those kinds of things, but no, I can't. I'm not a piano player at
Okay.
all.
Because you,
Yeah.
in your drum kit setup, like you had, was it like a glockenspiel? What is that?
Glockenspiel, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Not using that so much with the like a motorcycle set.
Not so much, no.
Not so
No.
much.
I
That's too
stopped
bad.
using it in
That's too bad.
Hillsburn too, but I am gonna pull it out for Friday's show with the
Oh,
symphony. It
nice.
will be there. So yeah.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Do you have a solo, like a
There's
glockenspiel
a
solo?
cup one little part where I come in, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah.
I love the
Yeah.
sound of it. Like I wish I like again, small town municipalities make a city, right? We didn't have much of a music program past like sixth grade at
Oh,
my
really?
school.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was like 10 people with like classical nylon string guitars. There was no drum kit. There was no drums. The only percussion instrument was like the wood blocks and the triangle. Like that was the
Right.
extent of it, right? So, but they had like trumpets and saxophones and like all the brass stuff, right? But no drum kit. So that's not something that I was able to get into academically, like learning the snare
Right.
drum kind of thing. Um,
Right.
so you did do the snare drum, right?
I did do the snare drum. Yeah.
Okay. Um,
Yeah.
so like rudiments and like marching band kind of thing?
Yeah. I guess I kind of got there like I started in grade six band. So when I started playing drums, I guess I learned to read music, like read rhythms and stuff from piano, right? Like I knew tas and TTs, ticka tickas. Um, Rudiments for me really didn't come into play until I started um considering doing music in university. So I'm not sure what I practiced when I was in junior high and high school. Uh, Tas and TTs and ticka tickas, I guess, and different
Okay.
rhythms. I
Yeah.
think a lot of it came from ear, but then I started really seriously considering doing music, and then I did the band of the ceremonial guard, which is like a marching band,
Hmm.
which is all rudiments.
Hmm.
So it was a little later that I really started to get into rudiments. Like I didn't have my stick control book until grade 12 when Jim, who was teaching at DAL, I took lessons with him before I went there. He was like, you got to do your stick control. And I was like, okay. I'm like,
Okay,
sure,
fine.
whatever you say.
Um,
Yeah.
so did you start playing like traditional grip?
For CG, I did. Yeah, I had to
Yeah.
learn traditional grip. Yeah.
Because I
I'm
don't,
not very good at it, but
okay,
I
because I don't
got
see
I
you
got
like
by.
you like posts or anything like band
No,
photos where you're rocking the trad grip. Like,
no. I only did it when I had to. It makes way
yeah.
more sense when you're marching and your drums like
Yeah,
this,
that's the whole
right?
thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It didn't ever. I know that some drummers learn that way and then that like carried over to their kit playing, but for me, I was just like, no.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never did the band thing, so I never did the traditional grip like ever. Like
It
I
was a big
can,
learning curve. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it would be. I mean,
It's just different.
it's a different muscle movement. It's a different
Hmm.
feel in your hand. It's totally different comfort level.
Totally.
Because I know like when I started to play, my brother gave me the Back to Basics on VHS, which was Dave Weckl, and
Okay.
he's a big traditional player. And he's
Yes.
like, you need to learn like him. And I was like, yeah, I can't do that. Like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
So that was the extent of that. And then once in a
Yeah.
while, like if we're if we're doing like a silly cover show or a cover gig and like we start playing like an old Rolling Stones beat or like a Beatles thing, I'll kind of switch over and just kind of ham it up.
Right. Yeah.
but I'm not playing like, anything crazy fast. It's like a four on the floor. There's nothing happening,
Yeah.
right? There's no
Yeah.
technique involved.
Right. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all for the cheese.
Yeah. I love the cheese.
Yeah. Um, so you're prepping, or are you done rehearsals for the Hillsburn set on Friday?
I mean, no. We had the band had our rehearsals, just the four of us on the weekend. And but with the symphony, we have a rehearsal on Thursday and then a dress rehearsal on Friday and then the show. It's very
Okay.
like they are professionals.
Yeah,
So
they don't need much warm up. Yeah.
no, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Mhm.
that's going to be kind of you've never played with a symphony behind you before?
I've never played with the symphony behind me. No, I've played with the symphony
Right.
behind them,
Right.
like waiting to hit my triangle note and like, yeah, but no, I've never played in front of the symphony. Yeah,
Okay. That's going to be a
yeah,
totally different experience for you.
100%.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Are you like
yeah.
anxious, nervous, or like good, like let's get it on kind of anxiety, nervousness?
Well, the thing about excitement and anxiety and nervousness is that they're like this
Right.
in the feeling town, right? It's like,
Yeah.
am I excited or am I nervous?
Yeah.
So I'm telling myself it's excitement.
Yeah.
And for the
Okay.
most part, it's 100% like, yeah, I think it's going to be a blast.
Yeah.
But of course, there's that little voice that's like, "Well, it's also going to be a little scary."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's for the band, so the band is going to lead the show. The symphony is going to follow you and hit their cues, so they're following you more so
Yeah.
than you're like looking over and like making sure they're doing their job, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're the
They're there
boss.
for us.
Yeah,
Yeah. We're
right?
the boss. Yeah.
Are you guys gonna have like any camera crews, anything like to document the final show? Or is this
No,
like
I don't think we thought of that. No.
no? All right. Like, because is this
Yeah.
like the end, or is this kind of like Kiss and Motley Crue? Like, this is the end for now, and then we'll see you in a couple
Right.
years,
Yeah. I mean, you never say never, but
right?
like we do not have any plans. We're not like scheming in the background, being like, oh, yeah,
Plotting
this
the
is
Welcome Back
just
show.
exactly no, it's just at a we're all at a place in our lives. Like Rosanna and Jackson have a child and Clayton has a child now. So things are different. We're not gonna be
Mhm,
on the road all the time. So it just feels like a closing of a chapter for us for sure.
mhm.
Yeah.
And I guess it's a good transition to go from Hillsburn into a band like a motorcycle. Um, what would be your favorite sort of songs to play on stage in both, like, I know your Hillsburn set's coming up, so you've got probably some favorite songs
Mhm.
from that you're looking forward to playing on stage. What are kind of those songs for Hillsburn, and then also what are the songs that you're kind of like playing with like a motorcycle? And what about those songs is it that's the kind of the challenge?
Yeah, for Hillsburn, Everything is New is one of my favorite songs to play. Um, I kind of just get to let loose a little bit on the toms and just like really feel it. I play it different every time. It's just like whatever's happening in the moment on that. And recently, since Paul left the band, I've been singing, which is crazy. So I get to do that while singing at the same time. So it's like a pretty cool thing to do. Um, we're doing for this symphony show, we're doing like the winter, which we haven't really done since Paul left the band. And we're not playing it like Jackson's going to play guitar and then the rest of us are just going to sing. Um, and that's kind of cool to just not even play drums and just, but still be performing the song.
Yeah,
For like a motorcycle, um, I really like playing Tanner. It's really hard though. It's like one of those songs that's like you play it in rehearsal and you're like, ah, we did do it right. It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's not there every time. But I like playing like Michelle's drum parts are wicked. right?
Hmm.
So to be able to get to play those parts that Michelle came up with is really fun for me, just doing any of the older stuff. Um, I think she's just like a wicked drummer, and like her musicality really comes through her drum parts. So like getting to be able to do those is really cool.
Hmm. And do you
Yeah.
sing at all with like a motorcycle?
Just back
Just
up
backups?
singing. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
because I know like she was, I guess you could say Michelle was kind of the lead singer when she was in the band.
Michelle was the lead singer. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say that for sure.
Um,
Katie
so
definitely took the reins on that one, and like she
yeah,
upped her singing game for sure and was
yeah,
like doing that. So yeah, it's fun that I get to do it in both in like different ways. Whereas like Hillsburn in some songs, it's like three-part harmony, right? So it's like you gotta
you
you
got to
gotta
know
hit
your
your note
note.
and you gotta
Yeah,
be in there at the right time.
yeah,
Whereas like a motorcycle, it's more of like energy and like
yeah,
so I'm just like ah, and that's
yeah.
fun too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely a different release on stage too.
Hmm.
Because I've always played in punk bands, so just that whole adrenaline and just go for it, like 100%, all volume. Not much for dynamics. It's all kind of like just at 100%. There's not a lot of ghost notes, and so
Right.
it's a different mentality as a drummer and a different feel. And that's some of the
Hmm.
things that I don't think a lot of people understand when it comes to what's going on behind the kit is the feel is so important as a
Hmm.
as a foundation. Um, so is
Hmm.
that something that you really worked hard at, like being able to skip from one to the other, in that role?
Yeah, totally. Definitely. Because like with Hillsburn, having those songs beforehand, it's like I got to put my feel into the songs, right? And there was no kind of benchmark to be like, well, it's like other than the band feeling, but I was such a Hillsburn fan before I joined the band. Like I was at all their shows, just like loving it, like connecting with everything. Um, and then joining like a motorcycle, it's like Michelle's feel is there. And like I can't just like come in and just be like forget about that. Like cuz that's a huge part of it.
Hmm.
So you have to like feel the feeling that Michelle has brought into the
Hmm.
music, which is fun. It's a cool thing to do.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
when you're coming up with your parts in like a motorcycle now, having taken that role that she had, at least behind the kit, um, is it like, do you ever have that like, okay, this is kind of how I would play it, but also kind of how she would have played stuff, like and kind of melding them together?
Yeah, and like I think I learned a lot from learning Michelle's parts, right? Like kind of like taking the song and basically learning it kind of like note for note, right? And like, oh, like this kind of thing,
Hmm.
like doing
Leading with the
that kind of stuff.
left or leading with, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so like that would just like come across because then I'm in that feeling. So
Hmm.
when I'm in like a motorcycle, I'm playing with that feeling. So when we're coming up with new songs, it's like that's the feeling.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if that makes
Um,
sense.
that totally makes sense. Um, so if you're not behind the kit playing drums, like what are you most likely doing? Like what's kind of like something that you do that people wouldn't necessarily think that that's something you'd be into doing?
Oh my gosh, I have no idea.
Like, are you like do you have a green thumb? Like, are you kind of an
No.
outdoorsy
See all
person?
those plants right there? That's my partner. My partner takes care of all the plants. I don't have anything to do with the plants. I don't have a green thumb. What do I do other than sit behind the drums? Oh my gosh, you've stumped me. I watch a lot of TV. I
Then
love
I mean,
stories. Yeah,
I've got a
yeah,
cornucopia of nerdness.
yeah.
Um, and I'm not a book reader. My wife reads like two books every 2 days. Like she's just
Oh
constantly
wow.
devouring
Yeah,
books. And I'm like,
yeah.
I'm still working on a book I started like last year. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah. I used to be really into books when I was younger, but recently not so much. My partner also reads a lot. I will go through a show like nobody's business though.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's been your kind of go-to show recently?
I'm a big reality TV kind of guy.
Okay.
I love just looking into other people's lives. I don't know what that says about me, but yeah.
Well, I mean, it's that I guess that's the whole allure of reality TV. It's that it's not that you're fantasizing about being part of their lives. It's just kind of like almost I don't want to say voyeurism, but it's that,
I mean,
you
call it
know,
what it is.
why
Yeah.
okay, fine. But it's that whole, looking into the glass, looking into the,
hmm
you know, and it's usually a train wreck because it's, somewhat scripted to make sure there's drama and,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah. Yeah, I'm a big like
Yeah.
sci. I mean, obviously, I'm a big sci-fi
Yeah.
kind of nerd.
So am I actually. I really enjoy sci-fi. I actually just watched the Fallout show
Yep.
because I used to play that video. Actually, Katie and I, when Katie and I met, we used to be at her house and I would be playing Fallout. She was like, I think you would like this game. And I was like, yes, 100% I like this game. So I play video games.
Hmm.
I guess that's the thing that you could say that I do
There you
that
go.
maybe people don't know. So when that show came out, I was like,
They nailed it.
on. They nailed it. They
Nailed it.
nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah.
So good.
That's probably my favorite. I mean, The Last of Us was awesome, and
The
this is
Last of Us was
just as
awesome.
awesome, but in like
hmm
two different ways. So it's like you can't really put the two together. So it's like
Right. That's
they're
right.
both the best.
Yeah, that's right. I would agree with that 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean,
And both of
Pit,
those games are wicked games.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I gotta play the second Last of Us so I can get it in before the next season. I
Right.
didn't play the second
Yeah.
game. I only played the first one.
I did it opposite.
Okay.
Whoops. I played the second game first and then the first game. Yeah.
Okay, so all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you come across the Los Cabos drumsticks?
I mean, you guys are everywhere, which is awesome. Um, but I was approached after the ECMAs in Fredericton or St. John. Fredericton,
Fredericton was 2022.
2022. That was the
Mhm.
one. Yeah. Um,
Were you
but
there with
I
Hillsburn or
mean,
there with like a motorcycle?
they're with Hillsburn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were
I
there
think I
as well.
played a few with a few people that year, but
Hmm.
yeah. Um, but I mean, I knew of you guys before that
Yeah,
because you're doing great stuff.
stuff.
And now tell all my students, they're like, what drumstick should I buy? I'm like, Los Cabos, Los
Yeah,
Cabos. I need a practice pad, Los Cabos,
Los
Los Cabos.
Cabos.
You got this. Yeah,
There
yeah,
you go.
yeah.
The ECMAs in 2022. That was a trip. That was like we were there. We were nominated for Loud Recording of the Year, and but we weren't on the showcase, so we played at the Broken Records bar, which is a friend of ours bar. He had a bunch of basically anybody that wasn't playing a showcase, he brought them to his bar to play
Like a no
one of the
case.
nights. Yeah, a no case. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So we played at the no case. So we didn't, and then we went and saw a few shows, but we didn't stray too far from that as a home base,
Mhm.
supporting all the other no case bands.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I guess we didn't cross paths that weekend. Um,
No.
but I know Ryan Barry, who was the marketing guy at the time, he was everywhere.
Yeah, I think it was Ryan who I ended up talking to because you guys had a booth.
Yeah, they had a booth
Um,
during the awards thing.
yeah, and we played the awards thing. So like we like went did like the red carpet or whatever it is, and then I
Hmm.
saw the booth and you know, I was talking. Maybe it was Ryan who was there. I don't remember
Yeah, it would have
in
been
that
Ryan and
moment.
Steph.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then we won a couple awards that night, and then I think it was a few days later. You guys approached and asked if I would wanted to be a part of it, and I was like, yeah, 100%. Like
Hmm.
Canadian company, great stuff. Like of course, no question.
Yeah. And what
Yeah.
other than being badass sticks, like what stick model do you use?
I actually have my box of sticks I just ordered in prep for this symphony show. You want me
Yeah,
to show you what I got? My
sure. Let's
office
see
is a
what's
bit
in
of a
the,
mess right
that's something
now.
that I think I
See
might start asking is people to like,
what's in the
what's in the
tickle
stick
trunk?
bag? Yeah, what's in the tickle trunk? That's a
So
Mr. Dress Up reference, kids.
yeah. So this is what I got. I definitely always get the 5A red intense for
Okay,
sure.
yep.
I
That's a
grew up
very
on
popular stick.
5As, but I love the length, the little extra length.
Hmm.
I also really like the power maples because they're like a little bit lighter. Sorry
Yeah.
about all the noise. You're gonna have to edit
No,
that out.
no.
Um, but they still have a little bit of length too, but just like a little bit lighter.
So
And
they the
then
5A intense as well, but maple?
no, the power maple.
Oh, power maple. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I got a little secret sauce special edition. It's the power maple
Ooh,
cut and everything, but in the red hickory. And I want you guys to make these a stick.
that's a special order.
Yeah, it's just you guys had some kicking around and I love them. So
Yeah.
I think you could just add that to the roster. I don't know what you would call it. Power hickory,
Power
perhaps.
hickory, perhaps. That's a good
Power red
name.
hickory. But I
Hickory
think these are
power.
my favorite.
Yeah.
But you don't, yeah,
So you're more of a red hickory.
yeah.
Okay.
Something about the weight of it I like better.
It does feel dense. It feels, yeah, there's a difference.
Yeah,
Like I know on the scale, it's they say they all weigh the same grams or whatever, but in the hand, there's definitely maybe it's just that it feels like a
it's
denser
the
piece of
density.
wood,
It's
right?
got to be
Yeah.
the density then. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Definitely is a different feel. I usually do regular white hickory. Um,
Okay.
just because it's so to me it's sort of like that balance in between of the red hickory and the maple. It's not too light, but it's also not super
Yeah.
dense. Um, all right, so I have a portion of this that I call the crash questions because
Okay.
we're all drummers and we get the joke. Crash cymbal, whatever.
But
Um, so they're slightly quick fire, but they're just kind of off the cuff. So it's just a series of questions that everybody gets asked, and I like everybody's answers because they're always different.
okay.
All right, so ready?
Yeah.
All right. Um, so if you're laying into a groove, right, and you're just kind of in that zone, what would be your happy place? Would it be playing on the hi-hat or playing on the ride?
Hi hat.
Your hi-hat?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Is it anything specific? Is it the tightness, the sloshy, or being able to do barks? Like what's your kind of groove, go-to groove?
I think it's the tightness.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that that question should have three choices because my actual real answer is the toms.
Okay. I yeah, I mean I like doing the whole floor tom thing. That's just yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely a different vibe. But I guess I came
Yeah.
up with the hats and the ride because of the crash question. Yeah.
Ah, yeah. Yes. Yes.
But
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
um so are you like a gearhead?
No.
No? Okay. So this
Don't
question
ask
might
me
be a
any
little
gear questions.
this question
Go
might be
for it.
a
Go for it.
little but no.
Okay.
It's not like a nerdy gear question, but it's sort of like what's the oldest piece of gear or your favorite piece of gear that you kind of can't live without having?
The oldest piece of gear that I have is a snare stand that I got to keep from the Dalhousie percussion um room when Jim Faraday, who taught there, passed away. I was lucky enough to snag that. I use it if my practice setup is over here. You can't see it, but it's
Right, right.
there. That I don't even know how old that thing is. It's in one spot in one position and it will not move. That's the position it will be in for forever, but it's perfect for my practice setup.
Nice. Well, that's
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of like it's a memory. So like, that's not something that you're gonna like bring out to a gig or anything. That's
No, no,
that's
no, no.
that's gonna be like handed down
Yeah.
through generations.
It's coveted. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay, this is totally not drum related. But do you
Okay.
prefer cake or pie?
Oh, cake.
Yeah. Any
Cake.
specific
I have a
cake?
thing about like fruit, cooked fruit,
Cooked.
not always
Okay.
my jam. Yeah.
Right.
So if it's pie, it's gotta be like pecan or something like that.
Right.
Um, but cake, cheesecake, even though I'm lactose intolerant.
Well, I mean, you can work around that now.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's some really good lactose like free spots that make desserts and stuff now. So
Yes.
there must be
These
some in
days we're
Halifax. I mean, I'm not
yeah,
familiar outside of like Gus's pub. That's it.
yeah.
Right. So
You can
um
also just make your own with all the stuff you can get at the
yeah,
grocery
that's
store.
true.
It's perfect.
Nothing
Yeah.
like homemade, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you could time travel to any event or a show, where would you go?
That's a really good question. Um, it would have to be some sort of um Jimi Hendrix, but not like a big one. Like I don't want to go to like Woodstock or
Right.
whatever. I want to go to like the club. I want to see Mitch Mitchell play like right up close.
Yeah. So it'd be like
Yeah.
when he was breaking ground in Europe before he came back,
Yeah.
where he sort of
Yeah.
formed the experience.
Yeah.
That'd be
Yeah.
cool. Like see the
Yeah.
beginnings of that. That would be
Yeah.
pretty sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would be your proudest achievement so far?
That's a really good question. Oh man, I don't know. Like I've never thought about that before. That's so funny.
Yeah, quick
I
fire. Let's
mean,
go.
if
No.
this is getting aired after the 26th, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So I
yeah.
can say
So you
this,
could
the
say it's the
Hillsburn
Hillsburn
show
show.
with Symphony Nova Scotia for sure. That's
Or
definitely gonna be it.
or that's just saying the best is yet to come, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair.
Okay.
Okay. Um, okay, so if there was a band that say they were stuck and their drummer got like super sick or couldn't make it or whatever last minute, so they called you like right now to play in like 20 minutes from now, like so there's no rehearsal. What band could you sub in for?
I don't know. I've been really into um the Wet Leg album, and I've been using it for my students, like teaching it as well. So maybe Wet Leg is what I
Yeah,
would say. Yeah.
cool. I've
Yeah.
not heard them. Where are they from?
Mm,
No.
I'm not a details guy. I don't know the answer. Somewhere in the States.
Okay, so they're like, okay, it's
I
not a
think they're
local.
American. I'm pretty sure
Okay,
they're not local.
okay.
Was it supposed to be a local band?
No, no, it's any band at all. Just like
Okay.
anybody, like it could have been Dave from the Foo Fighters, like you know what I mean, like anybody
Right.
at all.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Um, okay, this is gonna be another stumpy one. Um,
Okay, great.
so
Love to be
what
stumped.
what song or drum part do you wish you had recorded so it would be on your credits?
You know when that things happens when someone asks you a question and you will think of anything other than the topic of that question?
Yeah,
Um,
that's why I'm in this seat.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's such a good question. We're gonna be here for like a half an hour waiting for me
Okay,
to
cool.
think of the answer to this question.
Yep, I got time.
Okay, so I don't know how to answer this, but the Motown beat.
Yeah, that's you got
That's it.
so basically you're Hal Blaine, right?
Okay, there it is.
Yeah.
That's
No,
it
that's
though.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the money beat, right?
that's it. Yeah,
Like who
yeah.
who came up with that that then becomes the, every beat that's recorded from here until whenever, right?
Mhm.
So anytime that they play it, they've got to like pay what's the word I'm looking for? The royalties.
Royalties?
Yeah, right?
Except that's not how it works with drum parts. So
Nope.
or
That is
SOL
the
on that one.
dumbest thing ever,
Yeah.
right? That's like you got all this creativity. You have to use all four limbs. You have to play in time. You got to come up with something that's going to push and move the song, but you get no credit for it. You
No
get no
credit
nothing.
whatsoever.
Right? It's
Yeah.
like try
Yeah.
try
Yeah.
playing the song without that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's whoever made that is yeah. It needs to be revamped. I think we need to like start a petition or something to revamp how they decide credits and royalties on songwriting.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're gonna do that.
I don't know, start a GoFundMe or something. Um, all right, so the last question, this might get you in trouble. So if you had, let's say you're hitting the road with the band and there's only one method of entertainment and that's a CD player. And there's one CD and it's stuck in the car. What do you not want it to be?
What do I not want it to be?
Yeah. Like what's the worst case scenario of what's stuck in the car?
What do I not want it to be?
Hmm.
This is the most stumping question.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't want to lead the witness, but I've had people say Blink 182. I've had people say some or Taylor Swift. I've had like, yeah,
Oh gosh. I don't know, like Kenny G or something like that.
there you go. There you go.
Right?
Not a big what is it? Was it the clarinet that he played? Or the
No,
baritone? What is it?
soprano saxophone.
The
I love the
Sopranos.
soprano saxophone, actually. Like, what a fun, cool instrument. I don't want to hear it over and over and over again,
Right?
though.
Yeah, there's only so much of it you can take, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
I mean, I guess anything that gets stuck is gonna get played to the point where it's gonna, but it's like upon first listen, it's like, no, I can't do this, right?
Yeah,
Cool. All right. Kenny
yeah.
G.
Sorry, Kenny.
I think he's doing okay.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be
Yeah.
fine. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for agreeing to being on the podcast. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me. What a treat.
All right. Thank you, Claire, for your time to sit and chat, especially during what must have been a hectic time getting ready for that Hillsburn show and any press stuff that you had to get done for Like a Motorcycle's new album release. Just as a side note, for anyone that's keeping score, Hillsburn at the 2022 ECMAs took home a few awards, including Album of the Year in 2022. So even though Hillsburn may not be performing live right now, there's a ton of great music. So go check them out. Check out Like a Motorcycle's new album, Pretty Pleased, because I'm sure in the next award season, they're going to clean house. I'm going to have all of the links to the social media for not only Claire, but also Hillsburn and Like a Motorcycle, just to make your life easier. And also have Los Cabos Drumsticks social media information. Do like, share, subscribe, all that stuff that people do on the YouTube channel. And follow along on the Instagram, LCD Quarter Notes Pod. Send me a DM. Let me know who you'd like to see on the podcast, all that stuff. So again, thank you, Claire. Thank you for listening and watching. And until the next one, take care of yourselves and each other. All right. Bye for now.